What's going on, guys? I thought I'd get this started early so we can start promptly and get the party started. I'm going to wait a few minutes and see who all comes in here. I can see myself over on YouTube. So we're broadcasting. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes here. See who the first, my first viewer is. I am on a little bit early here. Just finished up my work day. And I thought I'd get this stream in right now. Okay, whoever that is watching, thank you for coming out to my Jim Harbaugh contract extension celebration. Please hit the like button. I'm going to wait for a few more people up there, two more. Thank you for coming out to my Jim Harbaugh contract extension celebration show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. I guess that will be me. Hey, Wolf, there are going to be some other Buckeye fans coming through, the usual suspects. If you're watching this live or on the playback and you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Right now, my total subscriber count is 1,077. That means I need 23 more to reach 1,100. That's the next milestone. So if you're watching this on the playback, or if you're new and you're watching this live, please hit that like button and please hit that subscribe button. Okay, well, it is 6:31. So I'm going to play the intro and I'll see you guys on the other side. I just plan to talk for about an hour. I think Buckeye Alex is coming through. I think Abdul Gaines is going to come through in the chat to give their probably pessimistic takes on Jim being re-signed, but I'll see you guys on the other side of the intro. Well, there's our resident super fan, Abdul Gaines, with his usual optimistic takes. Here we go. Michigan is in trouble. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Abdul, keep it coming. Keep it coming. All right. I'm going to try to keep this to about an hour. I know Buckeye Alex is probably going to want to come in and say something. But welcome back to my channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Sports. First of all, please like this stream, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. And that also goes for playback if you're watching this on the playback. Well, there's a lot to get to today. I'm about a week late, but this is still pretty fresh. So I just wanted to do something here to capture this because this is important. Jim got offered an extension. He signed the extension. It might not have been under the most optimal terms or series of events, but he's going to be our coach next year. And there were so many folks who said he's not going to be the coach next year. There were so many folks who said Michigan football is in trouble. You have one right there in the chat, Abdul Gaines. Michigan football is in trouble. It's in deep trouble. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Before we jump in, a few housekeeping items before we jump in for the new people. If you're coming in, please hit the like button. The link to my book project, The Engineers, the Western New York Basketball Story, is in the description box below. I will be making more content on this on all of my channels, but some of the real hardcore basketball stuff and stories and content related to my book, I'll do here. That's there. Also, the Big Words LLC newsletter. The link is in the description box below in case you're interested in following me beyond this channel as a writer and as a YouTube content creator. That is below. There's a subscription button there. You just put your email address in and you'll get it. I plan to do this monthly. And I won't give your email or information to anyone else. So those two items are below. All right. So let us jump in. But guys, before I get to the two articles I'm going to read, last night we talked about the Juwan Howard punch slash slap. And there's one person I did not acknowledge in the um, top sports punches list. I did Robert Parrish and Bill Beer. I did Buddy Ryan and Kevin Gilbride, right? I did LeGarrette Blount punching this unsuspecting Boise State player celebrating their win over Oregon. I did Ron Artest, the Malice at the Palace. But there's one other important person with a famous sports punch that I forgot to include in that list. And since Buckeye Alex and Abdul Gaines and Wolf are here, I forgot to give Woodrow Hayes his fair time on my show for his punch of this unsuspecting Clemson player, number 58. So I just wanted to give Woody his due and his credit for his punch. What can I say, guys? Humor is part of my personality, so I had to get that one in there. But Woody's punch might be the best one of all because he kind of winds his fist up and he swings at that Clemson player. All right, guys, we're here to talk about Jimbo. Now that that's out of the way, we're here to talk about Jimbo because you guys have come to talk about Jimbo and to hear about Jimbo. So after our great season, ending with that lopsided loss to the eventual national champion Georgia Bulldogs, Jimbo shopped himself around in the NFL. And it wasn't the off season. It wasn't the start to the off season many of us expected, but it's the one we got. And fortunately for us, Jimbo didn't receive any substantial offers from any of the NFL franchises. So, and he called Ward Manuel, said, "Ward, can I still be the Michigan football coach?" And Ward said, "Yes, we want you to come back." And even though he did that on signing day, Ward still wanted him, and Jim wanted to come back, and so Jim is back as our head coach. So we're going to talk about that. But before I read the two articles summarizing that, I wrote down a couple of points myself about why Jim coming back is good. So the first reason, number one, the first good reason for Jimbo coming back, it's good for Michigan football. All right. It's good for the culture. It's good for the kids. It's good for continuity. If you brought in someone else, if you let Josh Gaddis take over, it just doesn't feel the same. Now you have this prodigal son who played quarterback at Michigan for for Bo Schembechler, went to the NFL, had his dust-ups with Mike Ditka in Chicago, you know, resurrected his career in Indianapolis, captain comeback with Ted Marchibroda, you know, went on to coach at University of San Diego, but was quarterbacks coach for Rich Gannon that year. The Raiders went to the Super Bowl. By the way, Abdul Gaines used to be an avid Raiders fan, but he's not anymore. From the Raiders, he goes to University of San Diego. He takes the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl, comes within one play of winning it, coached up Colin Kaepernick, and then he rescued our Michigan football program. So he's good for the program. He's the face of the program. It's good for the kids. It's good for the culture, and it's good for continuity. So it's good for Michigan. It's great for Michigan. So that's number one. Number two, it's great for Ohio State. It's great for Ohio State. It's great for Ryan Day. It's better if you guys have a rival. It's good if we're your rival. It's good if Ryan Day is looking over across the sideline at a coach he can't stand. And apparently Jimbo and Ryan Day can't stand each other. Hence the third base analogy. Folks think they hit a home run, but they were actually on third base, something to that effect. So it's just good for Michigan. It's good for Ohio State. I mean, tell me Ryan Day doesn't have that written down on the bulletin board somewhere. Tell me the Buckeye players are not getting ready for that game. Thanksgiving 2022, Abdul Gaines. That game is circled. So it's good for Michigan. It's good for Ohio State. It's good for the Big Ten as a conference. You know, Jimbo's good to talk about. Some of you guys hate him. I got Feinbaum queued up here. Paul Feinbaum can't stand Harbaugh. So this is good for the SEC. It's good for their pundits. Valenti, it gives Mike Valenti something to talk about. He can't stand Harbaugh. You know, it's good for everybody. It's good for the Big Ten. It's good for college football. It's good for the SEC. Harbaugh coming back is good. I don't care how he came back. He's back. And then finally, Jimbo coming back is good for my channel. We will always have something to talk about as long as Jimbo has his office in Schembechler Hall. If the team overperforms next year, that's great. Jimbo gets the credit. If the team underperforms next year, that's great. You guys are going to attack Jim. So Jimbo is great for everybody. The Michigan football program, the Ohio State football program, the Big Ten, major college football, Paul Feinbaum, Mike Valenti, and he's good for my channel. Steve Dace, Johnny Olden, everybody. Jim coming back is good for all of us. Who's got it better than us? I see two more comments in here. Abdul Gaines says, I can't wait for Thanksgiving weekend 2022. Yeah, he's counting down the days. All right. So I have two articles here. One article is talking about his extension. The second one is about his coaching staff. These are short, so this won't take long. You guys won't be listening to me read for hours and hours. Let's see. Wolf 58 says, so basically, you're saying you happy daddy didn't leave the family and shack up with his piece on the side. Hey man, I make content about daddy. So without daddy, this just wouldn't have been the same. It just wouldn't have been. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving 2022 as well. And now Jim has to pick his quarterback for next year. So this is just a gravy train, in my opinion. All right. Let's see. Please hit the like button, guys. The super chat is live if you want to super chat me anything. If you want to donate to the channel via Cash App or PayPal, that is here. So let's see what ESPN had to say about Jimbo getting extended. So this reads as follows. Coach Jim Harbaugh agrees to a new 5-year contract with the Michigan Wolverines. This was written by Heather Dinich on February 16th. Let me blow this up for myself. My eyes are still good, but that print's kind of small. All right. Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh has agreed to a new 5-year contract that runs through the 2026 season, school announced Wednesday. The deal gives Harbaugh a 1-year extension with new terms from the contract he signed last January. The renewed commitment comes exactly 2 weeks after Harbaugh's highly publicized February 2nd interview with the Minnesota Vikings on National Signing Day. Oh, Abdul Gaines loved that. He's interviewing on National Signing Day. This is terrible for Michigan. Michigan is in trouble. I couldn't believe it either. Let's see. Following the news that he did not receive an offer, Harbaugh returned to Ann Arbor, where he immediately met with the team, according to a school spokesman, and began making hires for the openings on his staff. Harbaugh, a former quarterback at Michigan, had to replace both coordinators after offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis took the same position with the Miami Hurricanes, and the Baltimore Ravens hired defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. Harbaugh has since hired defensive coordinator Jesse Minter from Vanderbilt and promoted 3 assistants while turning over offensive play calling responsibilities to quarterbacks coach Matt Weiss and offensive line coach Sharon Moore. I love Michigan football, the University of Michigan, and the Ann Arbor community, Harbaugh said in a prepared statement. My family and I are excited to continue leading this football program, and we are thankful for the support that our athletic department and university administration had demonstrated toward the team. I appreciate all our players. I appreciate all that our players, coaches, and staff are doing to excel on and off the football field. My enthusiasm for tomorrow, the day after, and every day following is as high as ever. And we are ready to get on the practice field and start preparations for the 2022 season. Go Blue. Let me see if I can say it. Be a little bit better tomorrow than we were today. No, be better today than we were yesterday. Be a little bit better tomorrow than we were today. I think I said that right. Last fall, Harbaugh led Michigan to the program's first Big Ten title since 2004 with a 42-3 victory over number 12 Iowa at Lucas Oil Stadium. Wolverines made their first appearance in the college football playoff, losing to eventual national champion Georgia in the Orange Bowl. UM finished the year ranked number 3 in the final polls, its highest finish since 1997. It was a remarkable turnaround for Michigan's 2-4 record in 2020, by far Harbaugh's worst season at his alma mater. The Wolverines' final 3 games were canceled because of COVID-19 concerns, and questions swirled about Harbaugh's job status. Michigan announced a revised contract. Michigan announced a revised contract for its head coach in January 2021. It slashed his salary by about $4 million and extended the deal through 2025. Harbaugh later announced he would donate his bonuses, which totaled $2 million, to the athletic department employees who had taken pay cuts because of the coronavirus pandemic. Michigan did not immediately provide the contract or terms of the new deal. Michigan in 2021 won 12 games just for the third time, matching the school record for total wins of the 1995 and 1997 teams. The Wolverines won the Big Ten East Division title with a 42-27 victory over number 2 Ohio State to finish the regular season with an 8-1 conference mark. It was Harbaugh's first win against the rival Buckeyes. Jim has done a great job coaching and developing the young men in our football program, Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel said In the statement, last season, Jim, along with the staff and the players, delivered a memorable season that will remain with all of us for a long time. As coach, this is just the beginning. Academically, our program has been one of the best in the Big Ten and among the leaders across the country. We have graduated our players, and they have been young men of great character who have done the right things. I have the utmost confidence in the direction of the program under Jim's leadership. That's the ending of that one right there. Yeah, Abdul Gaines, I have one more gift for you here. I thought this was an appropriate one. A little bit of Homer Simpson there. Woohoo. We got our guy back. All right. I'm going to read the second article, and I think Alex has some things to say. So I will read this one and I'll bring him up. This one reads as follows. So, once again, Jim, we lost Josh Gaddis, and Mike McDonald went back to where he came from, the Baltimore Ravens. So this reads as follows. Michigan football grading Jim Harbaugh's coordinator hires. Jim Harbaugh has essentially finalized his Michigan football coaching staff for 2022 with the hiring of Jesse Minter and the reshuffling of his offensive brass. Josh Gaddis and Mike McDonald are long gone and have left pretty big shoes to fill. The duo will go down in Michigan football history as two of the best coordinators to ever call plays for the Maize and Blue. Both made a very strong, viable case to be Royals award winners and the top coach for their respective position. On offense, Michigan football now turns to Sharon Moore as the man to work hand in hand with Matt Weiss. Moore did a good job. Moore did as good a job anyone could ask for in the country by tutoring his unit to the Joe Moore Award as the nation's premier offensive line group. Damn it, if they just could have shown that against Georgia. Weiss molded Cade McNamara into a guy who can be asked to be the head signal caller and follow in the footsteps of Tom Brady, Chad Henne, Denard Robinson, and his head coach. I'm going to jump on that early. Who's going to be the quarterback next season? Because I think that's where our eyes are going to turn next. Because they have to figure out who it's going to be. Is it going to be JJ or is it going to be Cade? Therefore, McNamara performed at a championship level and made the plays he needed to, especially versus Wisconsin, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. This tweet from the Big Ten Network says, I think he's their best and most valuable position coach. Nick Baumgartner talks Sharon Moore and where Michigan goes with its vacant offensive coordinator position. So it sounds like Nick is bullish on Sharon Moore. In 2022, both Moore and Weiss have a grip on what is expected to be a very explosive offense with almost the entire core returning. Neither of them have been play callers in the past, but this move should be a continuation of what we saw in 2021 on offense. I would give this grade a high B plus higher, trending towards an A minus. So grading Michigan football's defensive coordinator hire. Defensively, it's going to be different. There will be no Aiden Hutchinson and no David Ajabo, no Dax Hill, or no Josh Ross. Those are huge losses. That right there alone is a steep mountain of production to replace for anyone calling the shots. So anticipating a regression from these men will be sadly mandatory. Jesse Minter, along with co-coordinator Steve Clinkscale will get to garner that improbable task. By now, every Michigan fan knows what Clinkscale is capable of, as his secondary crew did a remarkable job in 2021, making the jump from 2020 under Don Brown. DJ Turner grew into the number one corner by the end of the season and is arguably Michigan's ace returner on defense in 2022. Clinkscale also got the most out of Rod Moore and RJ Moten, who will presumably start alongside Turner this year. Minter, on the other hand, is coming from a place where coaches just don't succeed in Vanderbilt. His defense ranked near the bottom in the country. Not one player really stood out for the Commodores last season. Their leading sackers had 2 apiece, and the most turnovers that they got were shared by a couple of guys. Let's see. Manuel Excel tweeted, there's good reason to doubt Jesse Minter can run Max D. There's nothing on his resume that suggests he's ever coached any of the cover 7 stuff that Mac made such a huge part of the defense and crucially used to slow down the Ohio State passing game. Okay, guys, this is just about done. I realize that coaches want to prove themselves by accepting daunting challenges like in the case of Vanderbilt, but working there for even 1 year was not a smart decision on his part. If Minter would have come directly from the Ravens, then this hire would have been applauded by basically everyone who cheers for the maize and blue. That's reason for Michigan football fans to be concerned, but thankfully Vanderbilt is nowhere in the vicinity to Michigan when it comes to talent and the overall program. And then finally, with the help of Clinkscale, though, Minter shouldn't get tested until October when they travel to Iowa. Ouch. He has enough experience and wealth of aid to forge Michigan into a top 25 defense. He won't be as elite as McDonald was, making this a potentially risky C plus hire for me. How many of you guys are left here? Okay, got 5. All right, that's what I got, guys. So Jim got extended, and that's the movement in terms of his offensive and defensive coordinators. Alex, I'm going to drop the link if you want to come up. And then the other, damn. Give me 1 second here, guys. I accidentally pasted in the my Cash App and PayPal instead of the StreamYard link. Give me a second. I think if I refresh this, the broadcast will still keep going. I've never done this, so keep your fingers crossed. Okay, it brought the URL back up for me. Excuse me, Alex, if you're there, there's the StreamYard link. We're at 30 minutes right now. I just intended to go for about an hour. So if you want to come up, we can toss it back and forth for about 20 more minutes. I'll read some of your comments. Let's see, of course, Abdul Gaines with his usual, Michigan is in trouble. Guys, please hit that like button. Abdul Gaines says, you can't build an every year title contending team with a head coach who interviews for an NFL head coaching job the day of National Signing Day. Abdul Gaines says, Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to be at Michigan. He's there only because of circumstance. Well, Abdul, again, this is good for our team and it's good for your team. I mean, you want drama leading up to the Ohio State game. You don't want want some doormat of a coach leading up to that game. You want Ryan Day upset. You want your team to have to prove something. With 2 coaches having bad blood I think that's a good thing. I think that's a win-win. Even if you guys kick our teeth in this season, like you were supposed to 2 months ago. What's going on, Alex?
How you doing? Well, first I want to comment on the 2021 game.
Yes.
I think if you play that game 10 times, Michigan probably wins 4,
Okay.
3 or 4, right? I definitely think I've kind of whatever. I definitely think that the elements played a lot into that game.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. You know, we just weren't the tough team that day. I mean, you know, we had the flu bug running through us, so I think if both teams are healthy, that I think, you know, I'd probably say 6-4. Ohio State wins that battle if you play 10 times in a row, even with the snow. But you know, listen, that's, you know, it's part of football. It is what it is. I think you're missing on a bunch of takes, especially in Jim's contract situation. So I want to touch on a couple of things.
Go for it.
I actually do agree with you that it's best for Jim to come back, but not for the same reasons that you think. Okay. So, would you agree that Ryan Day is a better head coach than Jim Harbaugh?
Well, we're gonna find out. I mean, apparently he was on third base.
No. What's your opinion? Is your opinion that Ryan Day is a better coach than Jim Harbaugh?
Well, Alex, you know, I don't really watch you guys until you play us. I mean,
That's fair.
Take a look at you guys throughout the season.
That's fair.
It sounds like you think he is.
I don't know. But do I think Jim is worthy of the extension he got? Absolutely.
Oh.
I absolutely think that. Jim Harbaugh is the first.
Say that.
Because that Michigan team was the first team to beat Ohio State in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. I mean, granted, you know, you have the flu, you have the elements, you got them at home, everything lined up for Michigan. So, but even still, Ohio State has been able to escape when everything's been lined up against them. I feel like they've beaten better Penn State teams in worse environments. I think it just, you know, just catches up to you. You can't win them all. So with that being said, I definitely think it was worth his extension. Not only that, who else were you going to hire?
Yep.
Right. That's the thing that sticks with me. And I know, you know, some people are fans of Josh Gaddis, some people weren't. You know, I think he did a decent job with the environment that he was able to create an offense within the confines of, you know, of his offense within.
Alex, still there? Okay.
I think he did a really decent job in regards to that. But
hold on. Alex, I want to stop you for a second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. But I want to make a point about that. So I mean, isn't one of the questions though? Just lost him. He'll be back. But I was going to say, isn't one of the questions though? Was that Josh's offense, or was that Jim's offense, or was it a mixture of the two? Because that was a run-heavy offense. That was, yeah. Yeah, you're back. So okay. I was saying, but one of the questions going away from that, was that Josh's offense or was that Jim's offense? Because that, or a mixture of the two, because that was a run-heavy offense.
It was. I think that's based upon Cade's skill set. And I think for the most part, so when you look at the Big Ten, right? When you look at the talent, because recruiting and talent will always win out in college football. That's just what it is. You look at the teams in the Big Ten. You have obviously Ohio State, who's clearly at the top. Michigan State, who's semi behind them. When you're talking about recruiting classes, then you have Penn State, and then you throw in Wisconsin, sometimes Michigan State, and Minnesota, and Nebraska. Like they're kind of all jockeying for like that fourth position. in my opinion. So when the only real team you have to beat to win the Big Ten is Ohio State, I mean, because from a recruiting standpoint, you're already above everybody else. So that went to kind of go back to my original question: is Ryan Day a better coach than Jim Harbaugh? I don't know, but what I do know is that Ryan Day has had top tier talent, and he's only lost one game. Where Jim Harbaugh has been right behind Ryan Day, and I'm looking at this just from a conference standpoint, just a Big Ten conference standpoint, not what they've done in the playoff or anything like that. From a conference standpoint, Jim Harbaugh has lost games that everybody feels like he had no business losing. Especially that, the thing that sticks to me is that Michigan State game from last year, or just Michigan State in general. Michigan State in general, like, you have no business losing that game. You have one player to stop. You apparently have these great defensive players, and you can't stop one guy. I find that very interesting.
Well, Alex, you also got to remember we did get our strip sack taken away. Peyton Thorne's knee was not down.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. They definitely missed that one, 100%.
Now, that's no excuse for.
But that's no excuse for what happened in the second half of the game. It's no excuse for what happened in the second half of the game. It's no excuse at all. A strip's like it's just no excuse. They can't throw the football. All they can do is run. And you couldn't stop the run. But yet you have these guys who are supposedly going in the first round, who I think are just going to be bust, in my opinion. I think they're going to be bust. I'm not a big fan of Hutchinson. I think he's a great effort player, but from a skill standpoint, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, Alex, let it rip, man. Go for it. Let it rip.
But no. So like I'm not as high on him. I definitely think he belongs in the first round. Not yes. Like first overall, but he definitely belongs in the first round 100%. He's earned that. But I think he has a high floor, not a high ceiling. And the high floor is based upon he just like, you can't teach the motor that he has. You can't teach that. But I think from a skill standpoint, I just don't see it. Me personally. And a lot of that is his success is not only going to be predicated on him, it's going to be predicated on the organization that he falls into as well. But to get back to Jim's contracts, that's what we originally talking about. I definitely think it was worth the money. He's the only coach that's in the conference that's beaten Ryan Day. That enough is worth an extension. By itself, that's worth an extension. But also understand you're playing with fire a little bit, because when he leaves, not if, when he leaves, which he will. And I know people have talked about the buyout in some situations. His buyout, I think, is like $3 or $4 million. If he's going to the NFL has, they got, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. That little $3 million buyout doesn't really go it doesn't mean a lot. It's chump change. So like that really doesn't matter. But I definitely think that, Jim gambled on himself and still won. He lost and still won at the same time. So kudos to him. I definitely think that he's worth the extension based upon last year's performance. But we'll see what happens this year. I personally think they're going to have a down year I think they definitely maxed out on what they were able to do from a talent standpoint. I mean, they're losing a bunch of players on the defensive side and the offensive side, and they got players transferring and, all kinds of stuff going on over there. And I definitely think they basically got 1-year rentals on NFL type coaching, which, listen, kudos to him for bringing those guys in. I definitely think he mishandled the Gaddis situation, but, I think Mike McDonald was just a rental, just to prove that he could call defense and coach defense. And now he's back with the Ravens. So, it's all situational. I think all of it. It's all situational. We'll see what happens next year and kind of going forward. But keep in mind, you know, Jim is trying to get back to the NFL. That's clear, right? And as quirky and as weird as Jim can be, he's got a track record now, right? He has a track record. So listen, if I was him, I'm not trying to see Ryan Day every year. If I'm any coach in the Big Ten, I don't want to see Ryan Day every year. I just don't. I don't want to see him every year. And you're giving him ammunition, right? You're giving him ammunition, and that's that could be the worst thing that he could do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I definitely think he's going to try to get back to the NFL. Listen, he as mediocre in my opinion as he has been, he is a above average NFL coach. Now he burns his situations out very quickly, but if he's in a situation or given the right situation, he could easily win a Super Bowl. He's more like a electric shock to the system. Like you catch lightning in a bottle, and you can get your team. You can get a decent team in, get him believing. But he burns people out. That's been his MO everywhere he's been, which is why he's only been. This is the longest stint that he's ever had, and he's only been in this stint because he can't go anywhere else. Like it's kind of funny when you think about that. This is the longest thing he's been is because he's tried to get other jobs and he hasn't been able to get them. So that's the reason why he's still there. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I definitely think he's going to try to leave next year. I definitely think the contract is what it is. I definitely think he earned it after last year's performance. I mean, when you have that type of team, you're what, one or two plays away from losing to. I mean, Ohio State's one or two plays away from possibly being in that game, and you beat them at home. With all the pressure being 0-5, kudos to him. I definitely think he earned it. But I think he set some bridges on fire thinking he was going to try to cut out, and now he has to deal with that. So we'll see what happens with that. And like I said, he has a history now. He has a history of typically losing big games. He has a history of being quirky. He has a history of trying to get back to the NFL when he's, recruiting. I mean, I think the whole National Signing Day is a little bit, it's a headline, but it really didn't matter because they didn't need to sign anybody on that day. They had everybody. They were buttoned up already. So it's a headline, sure, but it doesn't really hold a lot of weight either when you actually when you contextualize it. There's really nothing there in regards to a story. Yes, he was interviewing for another job, but that class was already done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. If there's anyone new, please hit that like button. Likes are free. So Alex, I mean, he must know that there were ramifications for him making that third base analogy. I mean, he probably looks forward to seeing Ryan Day next year, man. I mean, he knows Ryan Day's pumped up for that. He knows.
Yeah. Listen,
And if he doesn't know, he's tone deaf.
Yeah. There was a comment that said Ohio's defense was atrocious. I completely agree with that. If their defense played half of what their offense played, they would have won a national championship last year without question. They would have smacked Georgia and Alabama or wherever else they would have been, whoever else you would have put in front of them. Ohio State's defense was horrific last year. And almost rivaled that, what was it, 2019 season or 2018 season? 2017, 2018, one of those seasons when they got rid of Greg Schiano. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. I want to say that might have been Urban's last year when they lost to Penn State when they were playing. I think Trace McSorley was a quarterback, and the linebackers literally looked like they were running in sand with Timberland boots on. It was so bad. Like the positioning, everything on that defense was just horrible, and it was just a bad fit. And Ryan Day went out and got the #1 coordinator in the country. So, he had Duke of all places, like with a top 10 defense, and he had Oklahoma as #1 defense in the country. So he went out and was trying to fix the issue. So, we'll see. Again, I don't want to see Ryan Day every year. I'm sure, Jim Harbaugh is. I don't know what he's going to do kind of going forward. But I will say this: it really wasn't a rivalry because we won so much. But like the moment you lose, I never really looked at Michigan as a rivalry. Not for the last 5 years. I haven't for a while. But that loss, definitely from a fan perspective, lights that fire in your belly. I mean, I hate Michigan. I hate Michigan in general, just because, I'm just a part of that. Being from Ohio, like, you just hate the team up north. But it definitely ignited something that I feel like we haven't felt that the Ohio State fan base, and it's been a long time since we felt that. And I still have not gotten over that yet. I'm still bitter.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still there.
Well, it looks like Bruce Wayne is taking on the entire Buckeye Nation there in the chat. He says, can't wait to see how much the Bucks are saying how good of a coach Day is when they lose 2 years in a row to Michigan. He'll be toast.
Listen, we'll see. We'll see. I know this. I know that Ohio State has a bunch of players returning and Michigan doesn't. So, hey, if they lose to Michigan again, I'm right there with them. I am as rational as a Buckeye fan as I can be. I'm pretty rational. You can't lose to Michigan 2 years in a row when you have a returning, you basically have all your starters returning. You had, some shuffle on the offensive line. You got a couple of defensive guys leaving, but some of them were injured last year and didn't have the opportunity to play. Listen, Josh Proctor is back, who was was an All-American safety that got hurt, who was basically supposed to quarterback our defense. And we basically had a walk-on safety starting last year. So, and then, we got a transfer in from Oklahoma State who was an All-American last year, who knows Jim Knowles' defense. So there are no excuses. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention Heisman finalist. I always forget about that one. So there's really no excuses for Ohio State to lose any games next year at all.
Yeah, I think CJ is going to have a chip on his shoulder after Desmond Howard's joke at the Heisman ceremony.
Yeah, I didn't find that funny.
Why? Well, let's go back. Why do you think the Josh Gaddis situation was mishandled?
I think two things. So I think there's two ways you need to look at this. Look at it from Josh Gaddis's perspective, and then we can look at it from the administrative perspective. So I'm going to start with the administration. The administration has always, since Lloyd Carr left, they've always been looking for this Michigan guy, which to me is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But that's what the administration wants. I mean, that's their brand, right? They want their Michigan guy, even though the guy that you call Michigan guy really isn't a Michigan guy, but we can get into that later. But that's when they're looking for coaching candidates, they want somebody with ties to Michigan, right? Which is why you've hired previous guys, and guys that have come in and have completely changed things up have gotten no support because they weren't quote unquote Michigan guys, right? That's just the history of the football program over the last 20 years. So from an administrative standpoint, although, you got this guy from Alabama, who Harbaugh brought in, who never really called plays, within the system of, obviously Harbaugh oversees everything. But, I think Gaddis did a pretty decent job with what he was given. He was given a quarterback who's a game manager, who doesn't really have big arm talent, so to speak. And I think he did the best he could with what they had on the field. I mean, they don't have a bunch of speed guys. They don't have a bunch of guys that can beat you outside. That's just not what Michigan has on the roster right now. So I mean, you kind of have to go with what you got. And I think from an offensive perspective, that's just really good coaching. At the end of the day, that's just good coaching. You have a really good tight end. You figure out a way to get him the ball because the tight end is probably your best playmaker last year. And that's just at the end of the day, like I said, it's just good coaching. But he's not a Michigan guy. And he's never been a head coach either, right? So from an administrative perspective, you're bringing somebody who's not a Michigan man. This is his first real job as an actual coordinator after coming from Alabama, and he's never been a head coach. Those are three major strikes against him. Now we look at it from Josh Gaddis' side. Hey, I had some really great ideas, and I won a national championship at Alabama. I came up to Michigan, and within 3 years, because of me, regardless of what Jim says, I'm part of the reason why we beat Ohio State, because I was able to put guys in position to succeed. So why should I not get the job, right? Why should I not? So I see it from both sides. And, maybe there was something there with Jim where Jim didn't necessarily give his blessing to Gaddis, like saying, hey, if I'm leaving, this is who I would like to see succeed me. I don't know if that necessarily happened or not. If it didn't happen, it's really shitty on Jim's part, in my opinion. Because I think some of the candidates that they were throwing around, they had never had head coaching experience either, but Josh Gaddis had more of a role within the team than the other coaches did. So I didn't necessarily like that. I didn't like that from the administrative point. So I definitely agreed with him in that regard. I definitely think he, given the timing, he probably should have been number one on their list, in my opinion, unless they had somebody else in mind. And it's probably going to be somebody else from the NFL, I'm assuming. But when Jim was on that interview with the Vikings, all the coaching hires have pretty much been done for the cycle. Like, I think all the hires are pretty much done for the cycle. So, and I think that's why, and he was very specific, Gaddis, on the way out. He was very specific about him not having the support of the administration, not Jim. But I don't know if Jim was saying, hey, if I take this job, this is who I would like to succeed me. I'm going to assume not, because he didn't mention Jim in that tweet or in that text message, I'm sorry, that he sent to the players about, if you're not being supported and you're not appreciated, you should go somewhere else where you are. And that was directed solely at the administration and not at Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
So, to my understanding, I would say maybe Jim did give the thumbs up, like, hey, if I take this job, hire this guy. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But I definitely think from the administration, definitely looked at. I think that they have their own stance. And when it comes to Josh Gaddis, man, you just got to read the room, bro. Like, you just got to read the room. Know where you're at. You're in a situation where you've been there for 3 years. Michigan wants their Michigan man to bring them back to glory or whatever they want to do, right? You're not a Michigan man, at the end of the day. So you're never going to be the guy. That's just what it is. You'll never be the guy. So, like, you kind of have, maybe he was a little naive in that regard, but you just got to read the room. You got to know where you're at.
I think to be a quote unquote Michigan guy, you either had to have played in the program or you had to have been there a number of years. Because Lloyd Carr didn't come from the Michigan pipeline. He came from outside.
Right. True. But wasn't he an assistant coach prior? for a
Yeah,
while.
he was there under Bo, so he kind of had that
He was there
connection.
for a while, not 3 years.
Yes,
That's why.
yes,
3 years, that's not even a full recruiting cycle.
no, no.
So that's what I mean. Like, he's not one of theirs, right? He's still typically an outsider.
Okay,
And I say that because as long as you're going to be known as the coach that Jim hired and had never watched any of your tape, like you're still that guy. They're still commenting how you came from Alabama. Then you're not a Michigan guy. Until that kind of stigma goes away and you kind of brand yourself within that program, then you become a Michigan guy. If you're an outsider, like you're saying, but they're still talking about the Alabama ties 3 years later. I just think it's too soon. He's just not. He's just not their guy at the end of the day. At least not now. I mean, if he was with Jim, if Jim was here for, let's say 8 years and Gaddis was there for 6 of the 8 years, we're having a different conversation. Like, that's a completely different conversation. But because now you're like a cycle and a half through from a recruiting standpoint of your classes. And, you definitely solidified yourself within that program. And you have, some type of influence with the administration, with the coaching staff. But, one guy's there 1 year, the other guy's there it's his third year. So, I mean, you might be the tenured guy, but you're not really the Michigan guy, not yet, from the administrative perspective. And again, with Josh, you just got to read the room. Like, you just like, you're there for 3 years. I mean, we all have jobs, and just read the terrain. I mean, for those of us who are in management or who would like to go into management, if you're not already, if you look around at your peers, you pretty much know who, if a position opens up, you pretty much know who's going to be able to get it. So you just got to read the room. I mean, that's just part of being an adult and part of knowing your audience. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Alex, we got some trash talking going on in the chat here. I'm going to read through a few of these for another 5 minutes, then we'll wrap up.
All right.
Guys, if you're new coming in, please hit the like button. Those are free. Please
Like
get
and
my like
subscribe.
into
Doesn't
double
cost you
digits.
anything.
Sorry?
I said like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, guys, that's free. So Bruce has been standing up to you guys here. He says, to be honest, I don't believe your passing game is better the next year. They'll be good, but Olave and Wilson were big time players. Will your defense be better? Are you getting a bunch of transfers?
So here's the thing about our passing game, Bruce Wayne. Olave and Wilson were amazing, and the best wide receiver in that room is still on Ohio State's roster. That's just what it is. Everybody knows it. When Jackson Smith and Jigba came in, Julian Fleming out of Pennsylvania was the best wide receiver in that class. And if you go back to you could probably be able to find it on YouTube. Garrett Wilson talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba. Garrett Wilson is a really, really amazing receiver. And he said I want to say it was like right before the season started. He said that he thought he was good. He said when he comes in, he always thinks he's the best wide receiver on the field until he saw Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he realized that's the best wide receiver I've ever played with or played against. He said that. Like, and Garrett Wilson's going to be a first-round pick, right? You also have Emeka Egbuka, who's the number one wide receiver. Julian Fleming is still there. Oh, yeah, and you also have Marvin Harrison Jr., who scored 3 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl. I think we're okay with that. I think our passing game is going to be fine. I'm more than confident our passing game is going to be fine.
So speaking of which,
in regards to the transfers, we got 2. One kid from Akron Hoban, which I'm very familiar with. That's where my brother went to school. He played running back at Arizona State and is transferring to Ohio State. He's going to be a linebacker like Steel Chambers. I think it's a great move for him. We also, like I said, got a safety who's going to be a senior, who was an All-American at Oklahoma State, who quarterback Jim Knowles defense. So he's going to be able to come in. He's a veteran. Kids basically, he could have went pro this year, but decided not to. He wanted the opportunity to play for a national championship, which is why he transferred to Ohio State. And, he's a veteran. He's going to be able to teach the guys how Jim is. He's going to be able to teach them the nuances of that defense. So I think we're on the right track. Ohio State doesn't take a lot of transfers, maybe one a year, if that. They don't take a lot. Because Ryan Day's thing is he wants guys that want to be Buckeyes at the end of the day. So, and it's a fit thing. Not every kid fits Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. Wolf says Josh Gaddis is fool's gold. The Hurricanes got duped. He also says,
we'll see.
I like this one. He says, at Bruce Wayne, receivers gone. Did you watch the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Abdul delivers as per usual. Harbaugh doesn't care about Michigan. He only cares about the bag. And then CS says, Abdul, he donated millions to the university last season, all his bonus cash.
He didn't donate millions. He only made 700,000. Let's get that straight. They're not millions, thousands. But yes. Listen, I'm not going to say. I personally feel like, and I said this before, I personally feel like Jim Harbaugh is an average college coach. He is a far above average NFL coach. In my opinion, I feel like he is suited for the NFL. In my opinion, which is why he's been trying to get back there so bad, because you know what you're good at when you're his age. And no offense, but do you really want to be recruiting against Ohio State and Notre Dame and all the other teams in the Midwest, 365 days a year, and trying to beat Ryan Day every year, and Mr. Sunglasses out there in Happy Valley? So, I mean, I think he's just a better fit. I think that's where he's happiest. I think he's an NFL coach at the end of the day. So, you go where you're happy at the end of the day. Even if it is your side chick, you go where you're happy. And I feel like he's happiest coaching in the NFL.
Guys, this is what makes this fun. I mean, he's just good for convo. I'll do a few more, and then I got to wrap up. Got some trash talk here. David Torrey says Buckeyes are just like the ugly girl in high school talking about the prom queen or head cheerleader.
Interesting.
Wolf says the Buckeyes receiving core won't skip a beat in 2022. Treppa says Jim thought he was about to get that to an NFL check in 2022. That's why. He says you have to assimilate. You have to be assimilated like the Borg to be a Michigan man if you didn't play there.
That's funny.
Bruce strikes back and says, well, we'll see, won't we, on your receiving core. If Smith and Jigba gets hurt, you'll be hurting.
I mean, listen, Jackson Smith and Jigba was probably the best wide receiver in the country. So I really want people to understand something, especially Bruce Wayne, who's making that comment. Jameson Williams left Ohio State to go to Alabama because on Ohio State's depth chart, he was the 6th best wide receiver. He was the 6th best one. He was number 6 on the depth chart. That's why he went to Alabama. 2 of those guys are gone. 3 of those guys are still there. For those of you who can't do the math that fast. We're going to be fine. And I think Jameson Williams is a projected first-round pick as well. They're going to be fine. Nobody coaches wide receivers better in the country than Brian Hartline. Nobody. Nobody does it. We're suspect in a whole lot of other areas. Quarterback and wide receiver they're the 2 that Ohio State is not suspect in. We put those guys in the NFL all day, every day.
Okay. Wolf says wide receiver coach Brian Hartline is the GOAT.
Yep, he is. He's the GOAT. And he
CS
was
says Michigan has a better run game and O-line. Wide receivers are much improved with Bell back. I think Michigan's offense is better than OSU in 2021. We have to talk about who's going to be the quarterback.
that's not even close. That's not even close.
All right, we'll stop right here. You think JJ snatches it?
I hope not.
Why?
Because I really feel I personally don't feel that Cade has had the opportunity to really open it up, because I don't feel like Michigan's had the playmakers to really go downfield to open things up like that. In my opinion, and I've watched Michigan a lot last year, I don't think they have those speed guys that can get down the field. So I would like Cade the opportunity. I would like to see him have the opportunity if they have those guys. I don't know that Michigan does. If they still have the guys from last year, it's going to be a no. But I would like to see if he has the opportunity to open things up and push the ball downfield.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, and if he can't, give it to JJ. Let JJ make his mistakes, and you kind of roll with it, because he definitely is a superior arm talent. But I feel like Cade has done, especially in that man, I hate to say it. Listen, that Ohio State game, he carved our behinds up. So, and our defense is terrible. And he played really, really well in the Michigan State game too. I don't feel like that game was his fault, the reason why they lost. So he played very well down the stretch. He's an above average quarterback in college. He's very, very good. He's very good. I just think from an arm talent perspective, McNamara is leaps and bounds better. But Cade is also really experienced too, and you can't teach experience. You just can't.
Yeah.
You just can't.
I'll say that JJ may be the phenom, but how's he going to do in a hostile environment when Michigan is down? How's he going to do?
Wait a minute. How's he going to do when Michigan is up?
Well, okay, when Michigan is up,
how's he going to do? I mean, we've seen them put him in. He's had a couple fumbles, and they really didn't play him at all kind of after that. So, but again, experience. You can't teach it. It just is what it is. So, like I said, I definitely think it's far superior when it comes to arm talent. But JJ puts the ball. I mean, K puts the ball in the money.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of Tom Brady-esque, where like he can pick you apart in that 5 to 7 range all day long, and sometimes get a ball over the top. But I would like to see their offense open up a little bit and give him an opportunity to really push the ball down the field if they let him.
Yeah. Okay.
Because for some reason, I don't know why I'm such a fan of Cade. Maybe because I really hated Joe Milton, but I like the team's energy when he's on the field. I like how the team responds to him, which is why I feel like he should get an opportunity. He should get more of an opportunity than JJ, in my opinion. I feel like he's more than earned it.
Yeah, he didn't. Especially in those road games against Nebraska and Wisconsin, and the defense melted down against Michigan State, but he didn't buckle. He sat back there and threw the ball into windows, and he wasn't. He wasn't that quarterback that just melted down in those environments. So it's going to be a hard decision. There are going to be people calling. There are going to be people calling for JJ. He's the phenom, and then there's going to be people calling for Cade. So it's going to be a tough decision for Jim and Weiss and Sharon Moore.
Hopefully they messed it up. To our benefit.
All right. Well, Alex, do you have anything else?
Nope. That's it. Bruce, come see me.
Bruce, come back. You're good for the chat, man. Come back.
Definitely come back, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoy the back and forth. I love it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to you next time.
All right, have a good one.
All right. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap this up. I have to go. Let's see. Just a little more advertising. Please check out my book project, The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. I'm going to be creating content on this in addition to the quarterback race in Ann Arbor. This is in the link below. This is from my writer's blog. There are promotional essays on this. That's there. Again, I'm going to create some more video content on this. Oh, I'm seeing the antenna signal, which means I might have a weak connection. And also, this is the Big Words LLC newsletter. That's in the description box as well. The subscription button is there. Okay. In addition to being a YouTube content creator and a Michigan alum, I'm also a writer. So if you're watching on the playback and you want to donate to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm 23 subs away from 1,100. I'd like to make that mark and surpass that soon. Sooner the better. Let's see. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on the Michigan basketball team and also the spring game and the quarterback race. And I think I'll stop this here. Everyone be safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your night. Go blue. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care. I'll talk to you the next time. Who's got it better than us?